Great to see so many of you joining us here this evening. My name is Greg Leparati. I'm Associate Director of Alumni Relations at Baruch College. Great to have you with us this evening. This is one of our first career events of the new academic year, so we're really excited to have you. Please put in the chat where you're Zooming from. It's been super interesting to see our alumni joining us from all over the country, even all over the world for many of these events. So let us know in the chat where you're joining us from. I'm Zooming from Queens. I see we've got some New Jersey, we've got some Maine, excellent. We've had some folks in Europe and Asia as well joining us for these events, so excited to see where everybody's Zooming from. We're very pleased to have Alexandra Szilagyi today joining us, who's going to be talking to us about the mentor-mentee relationship. Oh, it's great to see people from Florida, Connecticut, fellow Queens, there we go, fantastic. Palm Beach, Florida, wow, all over the place. So a little bit about Alexandra. Alexandra is a Baruch alum. She majored in international business. She's focused on helping young professionals navigate their careers, and her personal mission is to make a lasting impact on the individuals she meets. She has prior experience in production and project management, particularly with marketing and advertising and pharmaceutical industry, in addition to being a career coach. As a student at Baruch, she participated in the Financial Women's Association, and so she knows the power of mentoring, both as a mentee and mentor, and we're delighted to have her with us this evening. I encourage everybody to please put any questions throughout the presentation into the chat bar. We will answer as many as we can during the presentation, and if there's anything we don't get to, we will definitely get to it at the end of the presentation during the dedicated Q&A. So with that, I'd like to now introduce Alexandra Szilagyi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Greg. And I do see a couple of people in the chat already. Pharma marketing, yes. Publicis Health, that is exactly where I started my career outside of career coaching as well. So lovely to see some fellow Publicis Health employees. So hopefully, if you're on this invite right now, that you're here to learn more about how to build this mentor-mentee relationship and how to do it successfully. So, let me see. Okay, great. So, Greg already kind of gave a very wonderful rundown of what my background is, but for those of you who are just joining, I have made my career within the pharmaceutical advertising industry. I'm currently at a company called Fingerpaint doing project management, and in my free time and outside of my full-time job, I have been working with clients one-on-one with regards to helping them figure out what their career goals are and what their next steps will be. So before we get started, I would love to see how many of you in the chat, just drop below if you already have a mentor, if you've had any experience with this kind of relationship building. Let me just really quickly see where we're at. Multiple mentees, that's great. Okay, so just keep writing in there and I'll get started. So the first step to building a mentor-mentee relationship is obviously networking. When it comes to meeting people that align with what you're trying to do and what your goals are, you really want to make sure that you're meeting people, and through networking, this is how you open doors and how do you figure out who is going to be a good fit for you as a mentor or as a mentee. So just some quick common questions and common mistakes and best practices regarding networking. So some things that I see, even as a career coach right now, some common mistakes: no personalized messages when you're reaching out to people. So you want to make sure that you really align what you're saying and what you're looking to ask your person that you're reaching out to, and really being clear in your ask. Again, no goal being unclear goes back to the same thing. Forgetting to leverage your existing network. This one is a huge one. Many people forget that you already have a network. A lot of people tell me, where do I begin? I don't even know how to network. Well, you have neighbors, you have family, friends, you have people that you can reach out to that you can get started with. Not following up. So say someone actually took the time out of their day to respond to you, and you decide to just leave it in the ether and not follow up on when you're actually meeting this person. And last but not least, that is a big no-no in networking, is asking for a job specifically. And that's something that I see commonly, reaching out to someone and just directly asking for a job. So some best practices when you start networking: make sure that you're prepared, make sure that you have questions for an informational interview. You want to make sure that you get to know these people on a one-on-one basis, get to know them better. Again, without knowing that you have something in common with these people, you cannot then build a mentor-mentee relationship with them. Networking is like a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more people you reach out to, the more likely you are to meet someone that will be able to help you with your specific goals. And then you have to remember that you have something to offer in return. This is another one that people forget. No matter what your background is, I see a lot of people in here that have no mentors, have a few mentees, all sorts of different backgrounds, right? But you have something to offer. Even if you are the mentee in a relationship, you have your generational background that you can offer. You have your professional background that you can offer. So there's always something that you can give back in return. And best practice is to continue maintaining your network. You want to make sure that you're reaching out to these people. And it doesn't have to be frequent. You can use the upcoming holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever it may be that you celebrate, and your mentors or network celebrates. You can reach out, and it's the perfect reason to reach out to them and just catch up with people. All right. So now that you've started networking, where do you go to find these people that you want to potentially use as your mentors and develop that relationship with? So first of all, you have your professional setting. So I'm sure most of the people in this call are alumni. I know a couple of undergrads were forwarded the link, so perhaps some people in here are still undergrads, but professional setting. So you already have managers who are automatically set up as your mentors. I mean, they're supposed to help you grow your career and grow you personally and professionally. But outside of that, you have your department heads that you can go to, and you have other team members that you can reach out to if you want to meet more people. Oh, apologies. You also have your university setting. So some of you might be in grad school, even if you are alumni. Some of you might still keep in touch with some of your professors that you had while you were in your undergrad at Baruch. So these are people that you can reach out to if you have any questions, or if you want to expand your network, or if you want to find a mentor within a specific field, because people who are teaching about it tend to have a lot of knowledge and a big network within that field. Other classmates that you have, don't forget, people have all forms of backgrounds, they come from all walks of life. So some people go back to college to get their degree a lot later in life, so they have professional experiences already. They might be a good resource for you to reach out to. Counselors and other staff members that you interact with at your universities are also a great way to meet a mentor, or perhaps meet other people. Fellowships and programs. As Greg mentioned, while I was at Baruch, I was very fortunate. I was at the FWA, and I was one of their mentees. There's also executives on campus if there are any undergraduates, clubs, business professional fraternities, all sorts of different things you can leverage. And also outside of Baruch and outside of the university setting, there's MAPE, if you're in advertising, the Multicultural Advertising Intern Program. And there's also things that you can leverage as early professionals. You search on Google or on LinkedIn, and there's so many different things that you can find. And lastly, networking events. So you can go on meetup.com. There's also Alliances, and that is a network of business owners that are trying to build their businesses. There are LinkedIn network groups that you can look at, on-campus career fairs and events, as well as charities and volunteer events. So people often forget about this one, and I think this one is a really, really good one because you're already meeting people who are willing to give back their time and who want to, help others with whatever the charity helps. So it's a great way to meet people. So just really quickly checking in, drop some other things that you've used to network below in the chat. I would love to see what you guys have done.
Alexandra, earlier we had, in response to your question about mentors and mentees, we had a really varied group of responses, people with multiple mentees and mentors, people who are trying to foster those relationships now who haven't, someone who has multiple mentees, a few mentors. So it really runs the gamut in terms of what we have here.
Yeah, and that's wonderful to hear. I mean, everyone that's here is probably hoping to meet people and also learn different things and different tactics that they can use moving forward. And I think, once you find a mentor, one thing you have to remember is it doesn't have to be just that one person, right? You have different goals in life, so you can foster multiple mentor relationships.
We've got some folks talking about what they're looking to do, joining meaningful communities, finding mentors through friends, or some of the ideas being thrown out there.
Perfect. Yes. Again, using your network, that's the best way that you can meet people who are valuable and who help you achieve what you want to achieve. So now that brings me to the next level, right? So yes, you can expand your network, but a lot of people want to meet high value. And, obviously this is subjective, but they want to meet people who have already accomplished what they're trying to accomplish. So this could include business owners, VPs, anyone in the C-suite. And people tend to build this up in their head, and it makes it scarier to reach out to these types of individuals. But the concept is very much the same when it comes to networking, and there are just a couple of quick tips on how to reach out to these people. So first one is be concise. So you want to make sure that your message, that you're reaching out with, if it's a cold message, that it's very brief, it's to the point, and you ask for only a small amount of time so that you can chat with them. And for that, you have to be persistent because these people are super busy. They have a lot going on in their calendars, as we all do, especially nowadays. So it might take a couple of follow-ups, and you have to make sure that you're consistent in your follow-ups as well. Don't pester them, don't text them or message them every single day. Be mindful of their time, but also people forget. So just follow up if you're not hearing back. Be prepared. So once you do secure that time slot and it's good to go, there's no rescheduling, make sure that you have questions that you have prepared or a clear-cut goal that you want to accomplish in this conversation. And the goal, it might vary depending on what your relationship already is with this person, and also how often you've met with this person. So the goal might just be, let me understand what your background is and how you are as a person. And that might be a good starting point. Or if you're further down the line in the relationship, that might change, and we'll talk about that as well. Be there on time or early if you can. If there's a Zoom meeting or a phone call, make sure that you're ready, your technology is all set up. You want to make sure that there's going to be no issues because you want to maximize your time and you want to be grateful. So follow up after, thank them for their time, and then keep in touch. That's how you build your network. That's how you build any sort of relationship. I'm sure you have plenty of those already. All right. So I just put a sample note that you can shoot to anyone that you want to meet on LinkedIn or whatever it may be. And LinkedIn is very wonderful in the sense that you can see who you have in common as connections. So sometimes you can use someone to make that introduction, and it makes it easier. But sometimes you have to rely on just cold messaging them or cold emailing, cold calling, whatever it may be. But again, you want to be brief and concise. So I just put a random name. Hi, Michael. My name is Alexandra, and I'm interested in learning more about SEO. Would you have some availability for a 15-minute coffee chat? Best regards, Alexandra. And I do my full name. So the reason why this type of note works is because there is a question in it. So because of that question, it is more likely to spur action. It's a call to action. And you're more likely to get a response if you put a question rather than let me know your availability, because then, you know, they don't necessarily have to respond. But with the question, it's just a small psychology trick. All right, what kind of questions can you prepare for these types of informational interviews? Anything really. What your goal is to just get a conversation started. You want to have 2 to 3 key questions. If you know something about the industry, make sure you research the industry. If not, and you're starting out fresh, completely, without any knowledge about what you're trying to understand and what you want to learn more about, then you can ask about how they got started in their role, what skills are important for that type of role, or what skills are important for the company. Once you pick 2 to 3 questions related to your goal, that will start a conversation, and you can actively listen and start that conversation. So once they start giving you some little pieces of advice, you can ask them to elaborate and make it more personal to what you're looking for and what you're looking to get out of the conversation. All right. So nowadays, as everyone's aware, we're in a global pandemic, and it's
Alexandra, before we move on, I just wanted to address a conversation going on in the chat here. Jamie and Thomas were talking about what responsibilities on the mentee versus the mentor when you're having your relationship. Jamie says the mentee owns that mentoring relationship and should have meeting agendas recommended, have the priorities of how that relationship goes. Thomas says mentor is likely more experienced and may need to guide the first couple of sessions or set those expectations. What are your thoughts on that before we move on?
That's a wonderful question, and we will get to that in a little bit. So that's great, and I'll keep that in mind. So we can definitely address that.
We'll get to it. Sounds good.
Yeah, right now I'm just setting up for those who don't have a network, how to get out of their comfort zone and really start meeting people. So this is before you even meet the person that you want to become your mentor. So global pandemic, everyone has a different background, but you're working, you're studying online. It gets very difficult to make those connections, right? There are a lot of disadvantages to not being face-to-face in the same office setting, etc. So there's no water cooler chats. It can feel isolating if you're starting a new job and you have no one to really talk to except your direct team, or sometimes not even that. Sometimes, it's again, very isolating, and you have difficulty forming close relationships. The lack of face-to-face meetings and the Zoom fatigue that we all experience, having to be on camera all the time, it can be exhausting, and it can make it very difficult to continue trying these types of relationships and doing it outside of your work and school settings as well. And a lot of people have been doing a lot of extra work, taking fewer breaks throughout the day. And this is just because, it's a lot, we don't have the commute and people are trying to be distracted. So this is actually a perfect way for you to stand out, because everyone's feeling the same way. And you can just take time to reflect and see what you wish others were doing. And this is a great way to start making those connections, so you can block off time on people's calendars with permission, of course. So make sure that they're okay. You can consider a small gift card as a conversation starter. This one's a good one. I love this one. I did this just last week. I wanted to talk to someone, and instead of doing the face-to-face coffee that we now that we used to do previously. I sent them a little $10 Starbucks gift card and asked them for a little coffee chat. So doing that and going that extra mile, it really makes people want to talk to you, and they're more likely to pay attention to you to get to that point where you can build that mentor-mentee relationship. And then you can do some other ways to just make it more exciting and get people to want to talk to you. Include trivia facts in your meetings. Just be the one that is telling stories or whatever it may be. Be personable. Be yourself, essentially. And then organize breaks for your teams. So just make sure that you can block some 15 minutes on people's calendars. People will appreciate it. Again, whatever you're feeling, they're feeling as well. If they're feeling overwhelmed, a 15-minute break is going to be amazing, and they will start talking to you. And it will start chats, and it will eventually evolve into something more. All right. So there are two types of mentorship relationships. We have our formal, and then we have our informal. So the informal one, again, both of them stems from having a network and identifying people that you look up to, that you want to work with, people that you feel like could be valuable to have this relationship with. So the informal type of mentorship is just your regular teammate or someone that you feel like you can occasionally go to for advice. So something comes up and you know, oh, this person is really great at problem solving. I'm going to reach out to them and see what they have to say regarding my official or my current issue that I'm facing, right? And then there's the formal internship. So if you're lucky and you're in a fellowship, you don't have to do this step because you're kind of already matched up with a mentor. But in the real world, once you're in your professional environment, you need to make the asks. And it can be very simple. It can be something along the lines of, hi, so I know we had been spending a couple of sessions talking through through things and getting to know each other. And I really appreciate all your advice. And I know that you have a lot of experience in this field, whatever your goal is specifically, and just ask them point blank, would you be open to being my mentor? Or if you're a mentor that's looking for mentees, this one I think should be coming from the mentee. So this is kind of going back to that question. I think, yes, there are instances where I think a mentor can find someone that they want to put their effort into and they see the potential in. But I think, you know, for this specific timeline, I think it should be the mentee that makes that official ask. Because if you're a mentor and you see the potential in the person, if they don't want to learn from you, you can't really force that. So you can structure it and get them to move that along. But absolutely, I think this is on the mentee. And I'm just reading the chat to see if there's anything else, but I don't see anything currently. So then after you make the ask, then you can set up an actual structured mentorship. So what does that look like? Oh, sorry, did it? Okay, so milestones for building a successful mentorship relationship. So there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. One is you have to set goals. And these goals, you have to really reflect, think about what your mentor can help with. And this might be, again, you might have multiple mentors for multiple different goals, but be sure that it's very specific to what that person can do for you and what that person can teach you. And you want to set SMART goals. So just really quickly, who here, if you know what SMART stands for, the acronym, just drop it in the chat below. And I'll be back in a second to this bullet point. Next is expectation setting. So this one is slightly different from your goal setting because you need to set the expectations of when you'll meet, how you'll meet, how you want to have these conversations. Is it going to be a phone chat? Are you meeting up in person? How do you communicate? All of these different things. Let's see, SMART. Yes, someone answered. Awesome. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So these are a great way to set your goals. And it's a great way to just be able to measure your progress with your mentor as well. Thank you for answering. All right. And then you also want to make sure that you're establishing your trust. And this is an ongoing process. It doesn't happen overnight. You need to show that you're open-minded, that you're proactive. If you're meeting with someone and you have specific goals and they're telling you all of these different things, you want to take notes and you want to implement them. Now, this one, take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean you have to implement every single piece of advice that you've ever received. You want to make sure that it's specific to you as a person, and it's specific to your goals. So they might not have had the same background. So just pick and choose what makes sense, and talk about it with your mentor. Hey, I think in this situation, I'm going to try this path that you suggested and see if you can implement it. It's okay to fail. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. But just be proactive in taking what your mentor is saying. And be consistent. I mean, this one goes without saying. Make sure that you continue following up. Make sure that you continue planning and setting goals with your mentor. Or if you're the mentor, and like someone mentioned earlier in the chat, if your mentee is inexperienced in building these relationships, I think this is where you can really step in to help grow the relationship. You know, the goal setting, the expectation setting is very, very important. Okay, a good point. If I want to mentor someone, I don't ask them to be my mentee. I just offer them and say, I'd be happy to meet you to support your growth. I think that's wonderful. And yes, that exactly. You know, you want to help guide them towards that. But again, it's not saying the word mentee, but building that relationship is not automatic. And you want your mentee to also be proactive. So definitely agree. All right, so some issues that can come up within a mentor-mentee relationship, generational communication gaps. And this happens when people are from different generations. Obviously, I don't know how many of you have noticed if you're working that some people communicate very differently depending on their generation and how they grew up and how they've even fostered their careers, because things change all the time. So make sure that you work on bridging that gap, trying different communication styles to see what works best with your mentor-mentee. You know, sometimes you might say it one way and it just won't register. So then you have to explain it in a different way. Over communication, I think this is also important. Make sure that everything is very clear, the date and time that you're meeting, the goal that you're meeting, how you're going to measure that goal, right? That's also important. So just make sure that you're on the same page and very clear about all of that. And be open. You want to learn from each other. So just as you are learning from your mentor, if you are a mentee, they have something to learn from you as well. So just believe in yourself and believe that. All right, just some things to remember as you start building these relationships. Relationships cannot be forced. They grow organically. And this is why I started off this presentation and this workshop with talking about building your network. You want to build relationships, and there's nothing that you can do overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to put in the work and just grow it as best as you can slowly, and also find the people that really resonate with you and have the same values. Reciprocity is important. And this one goes hand in hand with another one that I have on the slide. Celebrate your mentor's wins just as much as they celebrate yours. So you're each other's support systems. Once you decide to create this relationship and once you move forward and work together, you want to make sure that if there are opportunities that you think are amazing and your mentor would be perfect for, reciprocate. Make sure that you pass along the opportunities to them as well. Everyone wants to learn. Everyone wants new opportunities. So this is a great way to give back. be engaged. Relationships take time to build. So when you're having these conversations, having these mentor meetings, and creating these SMART goals, you want to make sure that you are listening, actively listening, and really honing in on exactly what you need and what your mentor needs and how you can tackle problems together. And I think one of the most important ones is to leverage their experiences and learn from their mistakes. And a lot of people forget this one, but if you're finding a mentor that has achieved a goal that you want to achieve, they've done the trial and error. They've likely made a million mistakes, as you will too. It is totally normal. But if you learn from their mistakes, you don't have to make the same mistakes as they did. So this is a great way to just keep going and keep learning and keep growing. How do you know that you found the right mentor? And this one, I would love some input from the people in the chat again. So just some tidbits. They advocate for you, even if you're not in the room. So this one is very important. You want someone who will be that voice for you, who will think of you when there are opportunities. You're learning and growing personally and professionally. And this, sometimes it doesn't seem like it's happening. Sometimes you're not noticing your growth. Even though you have these SMART goals, you might feel like you're failing miserably. But if you are learning and getting unintentional tidbits out of this relationship, then this is the right thing for you. And what does this mean? So for example, before you created this mentor relationship, and say your goal has nothing to do with this, but before you created this relationship, you were terrified of talking to people. But through your mentor, you learned how to talk to people, and you started enjoying actually reaching out to people and building your network. Then that was an unintentional side effect, quote unquote, of working with your mentor. And so you are learning and growing. So that's another good indicator that you're on the right track. They introduce you to new people within their network. This is also an important one. Not one human being knows everything. I have never met anyone that knew everything about everything. I don't know about everything either. So you want to make sure that you are talking to people, and your mentor can help facilitate that. So if there's something that you want to learn that they don't necessarily know, or perhaps things have changed a lot since they've done it, they can point you in the right direction. They can anticipate problems that you will run into. So this is another important one. And this kind of goes along with learning from their mistakes. So they will, through experience, be able to pinpoint things that you might not be able to pinpoint as you go. You don't know what you don't know. So this one's absolutely crucial as you start setting up these goals. And then the last one, very, very important one, I think, is that you enjoy spending time with this person and you feel motivated. There are two types of people, right? There are people who you look up to, you really want to be like that person, and you talk to them and you walk away from that conversation feeling worse because you feel like you're a failure, you feel like you haven't achieved what you wanted to achieve, and it's just not a great experience. I'm sure everyone has had that kind of experience. But then there are the people who make you feel motivated and fired up after the conversation. And those are the types of people that you want to be talking to and that you want to choose as your mentor. They want to make sure that, again, you're pushing forward and you're pushing yourself as best as you can. And if you don't believe me, then you can believe some of my mentors. So just some advice that I got from my mentors that I reached out about this presentation as well. So it kind of echoes everything I've already talked about, right? So relationships can't be forced, and they aren't expected just because you are assigned a mentor. So this goes to a fellowship kind of situation where you're not actively looking for your mentor. Again, you need to cultivate those relationships. You need to set some expectations about your meetings and what will happen during those meetings. It has to be reciprocal. So make sure that you are engaged and you do for them as much as they do for you. Trust your gut. Relationships can't be forced. It's two people now saying the same thing, right? Stay true to your beliefs and don't be led down the wrong road just for money or status. I think this one is very, very important to highlight because you want to make sure that it's someone that aligns with your values. And I think, Jessica, I see your question. So assigned mentors can be tricky in my experience. Agreed. So this goes back to, making sure that you stay true to who you are. So sometimes there's friction between what your mentor has experienced or what your mentor has as goals. Sometimes it's totally different from what you want, right? So you have to, again, be very clear about your expectations and what you want to do specifically and what your goals are. And at the end of the day, whatever advice other people give you, you just pick and choose what works for you in your situation. So work on that relationship as best as you can, but if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work and you have to accept that and find a different mentor. I mean, yes, it can be tricky in a space where they're assigned. I've been very lucky in my experiences, but even if you are starting off on rocky ground, I think there's a way to build that relationship and be professional about it. So if anyone else has any tips or has had a situation like this where they were assigned a mentor and it wasn't a great relationship, drop it below. I would love to see what other people have been through with that. Oh, sorry. And then a great quote is, at the end of the day, people won't remember what you said. They will remember how you made them feel. This is from another mentor of mine. This is a Maya Angelou quote. So this again goes back to just being who you are as a person and keeping that as your core without going in a different direction just because your mentor or mentee wants you to. And then stay in touch. Regular contact is very important with building that relationship. Make an effort to get to know your mentor. So the more comfortable you are with each other, the easier it is to share what you need and the better relationship you can have with your mentor. So with this mentor specifically, this one is from the FWA program. I cannot say enough good things about that program, but this mentor, I've gotten to know her daughter. I've gotten to know her on a personal level. So building those relationships, again, very important. And lastly, a strong mentee-mentor relationship doesn't have an end date. So you can pick and choose. You can pick and choose everything. You can pick and choose your goals. You can pick and choose how long these engagements will be. If you have one specific goal with one mentor, it can last for just that goal. Or you can go back to that person and build multiple different goals with that person. I'm going back to the chat quickly. So earlier in the deck, one of the points glanced on this, but you shouldn't assume that a mentor can help you with specific skills you're looking to cultivate. Ask a lot of questions, get them to talk about themselves, find out what other skills they have that are universal. That's exactly it. Yes, exactly. Some skills are universal and transferable and something that you can implement in your career, in your life, but some things aren't. And again, it goes back to having a completely different background and everyone is very different. And learn how to communicate. Yep, absolutely.
I noticed we have someone in the audience with their hand raised. Do you have a question? Would you like to unmute yourself to ask your question or put in the chat? Or was that an accidental hand raise?
If it was me, I think it was accidental. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, no worries, no worries. Just double checking.
Okay, let me try to get it down.
Thank you.
All right. So I've been talking a lot, so I want to just take a couple of minutes for everyone to think through and try and identify for yourself some problems that you currently have that you think a mentor would be able to help you solve. So I'm just going to give it, I'll give it 4 minutes until 45. And then if you're comfortable unmute yourself and share. If not, just drop it in the chat below. So actually make it 3 minutes. So we'll give until 44.
Everyone think those through. And now remember, we're going to continue to talk about some questions and, I encourage everyone to bring any question they have about the mentor-mentee relationships, to the table. Any situations or things you want to ask about, nothing's off the table. So everyone think through that as well. It's so great to hear the positive feedback you have as well for the FWA program, Alexandra. I think, I know that we said assigned mentoring relationships can be tricky, but I think that FWA and EOC, we always do perfect matches, right? It's never tricky.
There's always, any sort of relationship, I think, always has some sort of complication to it. And it goes back to communication, right? I mean, everyone communicates differently. So learning how best the other partner communicates helps solve those problems.
Alexandra, we got a question in the chat here from Dianita. Is it ever too late in your career to seek a mentor? What are your thoughts on that?
Never. I think it's absolutely never too late to find a mentor, even if it's someone that's younger than you. I mean, I know several people that are younger than me and are incredibly smart that I go to all the time with questions about things that they've done in their careers. So I think, as you evolve as a person, your needs and your goals will shift, will change, and that's okay. And finding a mentor to help you through those different problems that you have is going to be important. And, it's never too late to start that. Stephanie, do you have a question? I see your hand is raised.
Would you like to, if you have a question, unmute yourself? Yes.
Definitely. I was just going to say, I think, Dionita, a lot of people actually are looking for more coaching and mentoring as they get older, because they're kind of having their mid-career kind of crisis, like, okay, what do I do now? Let's say, you're in your 50s and you're kind of thinking, I feel like I need a career shift, but I'm not very sure how to go. And so I was just sending in the chat someone I know who specializes in coaching for that. And I also wanted to mention my company is a diversity hiring company, and we have bring in people from around the country and provide coaching at no charge. We're really looking at how to empower and build career pathways for diverse professionals. So we wanted to throw that out there. If anyone's interested, they could upload their resume at our website, and there's never a charge to candidates.
Thank you. Thanks for that, because I think that you've just described me, somebody in their 50s looking for more fulfillment.
Yeah.
Just to throw in my 2 cents on this, I've found just personally that the whole attitude towards mentoring has changed over the last couple of decades, and I think that more so than ever, whereas maybe a few decades ago it would have been a little bit more taboo for someone further along in their career to want to seek out a younger mentor. I don't think that's really a stigma as much as it may have been many decades ago. I think that there's lots of help and insight you gain intergenerationally, as we've been discussing throughout this presentation. And I think because mentoring has now become such a more mainstream, formalized concept, I think that those types of stigmas are a little bit over, sort of.
Absolutely. And I think with regards to that, I mean, you know, things have changed so much in even the professional world, where nowadays technology is advancing so quickly that there are even things that I don't know how to use anymore. And so I have to seek out people who are specialized in that. Like VR, you know, that's going to be something that's going to be completely new. And even if you have so many years of experience within a specific industry, you're going to have to be able to pivot and learn how to continue learning, right? I think that's important. And so seeking out those relationships is going to help with that guidance and bridge those gaps as well. Yeah. Okay. So I think if anyone is brave enough to tell us some problems they're currently having that they think mentorship would help them through, now is the time to either unmute or put it in the chat.
And we did get one message from Jessica in the chat saying, looking to go to the next level and serve on one or more positions as a board member.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's perfect. I mean, you know, finding someone that is on a board right now and getting to know their experiences, how they figured out how to get there, I think that is absolutely perfect, especially if they're on the board that you're looking to join. I think, you know, reaching out to those people is very important. Nonprofit boards are a good place to start, yes. Podcasts, the technical side, how do I proceed? Again, continue networking. I mean, it's very simple to reach out on LinkedIn, post a post, and the great way that LinkedIn works is once you post, not only do your friends or connections see it, but other people do too, especially if you use hashtags and things like that. So you can find people who will be responding to you. Another great tool is through Clubhouse. I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but it is a wonderful, wonderful place. And it's become a networking place, but it's all through talking. So there's no really face-to-face or video discussions. They have different groups that you can search. So you can easily search podcasts on Clubhouse, and you will find little rooms where people are discussing how best to get started. So that's a great resource as well. Locating a mentor feels impossible. I'd like to move on and grow. I think, again, this goes back to expanding your horizons, right? I mean, if you feel like you have no one to look for the mentorship,
hey, how are you?
Hello.
Oh,
sorry.
Sorry about that. Sorry, muting.
Oh, that's okay.
No worries. So again, expanding your network, expanding your horizon, that's going to help you solve that problem, because if you feel like you don't know enough people, the solution is to meet more people. And I'd be happy to chat more about that as well. If you want one-on-one, I'd be happy to help you expand your network as well.
No, I have a tip that I always like to give out as well for folks looking to meet people in their industry or who might know things that are, you know, aligned with what they do professionally. If you go to linkedin.com and you go to linkedin.com/alumni, as a tip a lot of people don't realize, you can search through the back end of LinkedIn to find out everyone who says that they're a Baruch College alum. And you can search by company, you can search by industry. It's a really interesting search tool. And so if you're, even if you've been at the same company for 25 years, if you look on that site and look through the data of all the Baruch alumni, you know, based on industry, et cetera, you might be able to find some people who are really interesting and who could have a lot of insight to offer you. And those could be interesting people that you might want to reach out to. And you've got that shared connection already that you are a fellow Baruch College alumni. So just a tip if you're looking for people outside of your company who might be a good mentor or mentee. Yeah.
And even just back to LinkedIn, I mentioned this earlier, but LinkedIn networking groups. If there's something that you are very interested in learning about, I recently joined a bunch of different networking groups for tech because that's something that I'm looking to learn more about. And I simply just posted in every single group as I joined them, hi, I'm new to this group. I would love to meet more people, learn more about the industry. And people started reaching out to me. So it was more of an inbound kind of discussion, which makes it a lot easier, takes the pressure off. So it's also a good resource. Professional orgs are good for that also in your industry. Absolutely. If you want to stay within your industry, you can seek out those places. And sometimes your HR team might have really good tips as well. For where to go. You might not know that your company has these opportunities to set up mentorship programs or have, webinars or different learning opportunities. So all of those are good ways to meet people. Anyone else want to share a problem that they think mentorship would help them through? All right. If not, just take 2 more minutes to think about 10 people just for yourself for now, who you think you can reach out to start expanding your network. Especially, Jacqueline, if you want to think through people you've never thought of, your neighbors, people you interact with briefly throughout your week, that you might not know might have a great network as well. And now that we've talked about all that, I'm going to open up the floor for any questions. If you want to share about people you've never thought about reaching out to, that might be a good start to expanding your network. Let me know. If you have any specific problems that you want to address, like knowing everyone within your industry for 20 years and wanting to expand, let me know. I would love to answer any questions. My contact information is on the screen. So if you are uncomfortable sharing in a group setting, definitely reach out to me. I would love to get the chance to talk to you and help you grow your network if that's a goal of yours. And thank you for everyone for joining.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We welcome any questions. If you want to direct any to the chat, we're going to stick around for a few more minutes, of course. So we're here to answer your questions. While in the meantime, I'm going to just also share a link to our events calendar because we have some great events coming up as well. So I hope to see many of you at some of our upcoming events. Oh, we have, do you mind sharing the deck with us? It's helpful with great tips.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you can shoot me an email, I would be happy to send it to you. So my email is on the screen.
We will also be sharing a recording of this as well, so you'll be able to consult the slide deck through that as well. So let me share our events calendar link. We have some great events upcoming as well, Women of Color in Leadership, Pride in Technology, as well as an Ask Me Anything First Time Homebuyer edition, which I think is going to be super interesting. So definitely check that out. Hope to see you at some of those events. It was great seeing so many alumni here. Alexandra, thank you so much for such a great presentation. Really enjoyable. Oh, here we are. Jacqueline asks, any tips on changing industries?
Yes. So I am a veteran at that. I love trying new things and always learning and changing industries. So I've done this a couple of times, and I think the first step that you need to understand is that your skills are transferable. So identify those skills that are universal that you can apply in any industry. And those are going to be your soft skills for the most part. So your ability to communicate, your ability to work with a team, super, super important. And any other soft skills that you might have developed in your current industry. And again, start expanding your network, reaching out to people in other industries you might be interested in. And again, LinkedIn is your best friend. It is a super simple tool to get to know people with and to find those people, right? I mean, the first step is finding them. So you can look up an industry like Greg had mentioned, and look at the alumni, and you can start there to expand your network or whatever it may be. Going from there, then you can start having those conversations, seeing if it's even something you're interested in as well. And once you start building those connections, you might not know who's hiring. So you have an informational interview, and they might think that you're the perfect fit for that specific role that just opened up within their company that's not even up on their website yet. So that's your shoe-in to changing industries and changing companies for sure. Great questions, Jacqueline. I appreciate all of these. I think these are wonderful questions. And thank you to everyone for joining. And Thomas, thank you for all of your insights as well. I think everyone learned a lot from them too.
It was a very nice group conversation going on in the chat. Here we go. What are things to do when one joins a new team? How can one quickly demonstrate value and fit?
Wonderful question. I think this goes back to identifying things that you see that you would need, right? If you need more meetings with your team or less meetings, both are very valid. Figure out how you can make that a reality, right? You can find low-hanging fruit. So that can be something as simple as, hey, we don't have a process in place for this specific type of activity. I would love to give some suggestions on how we can improve it. If you're just coming in as a new team member, you are the perfect person to start bringing these things up because you have that outside perspective. Once you're part of a team and you're doing things day in, day out, you might not know that there's a more efficient way to run things. So as that new person, it's your perfect chance to bring these things up and start having the conversations. A great way to show value is reach out to your team members and ask them, hey, what is not working? What can I help to make better? And just by having those conversations, automatically the light bulb will go off in people's heads that, oh, this person's actually trying to change things, and this person knows what they're talking about. So I would say, yeah, have those conversations and pick those low-hanging fruit that you see. And sometimes it's very clear, sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's very simple things, small things. Like say you're joining an industry and it has a lot of acronyms and no one's keeping track of the acronyms. I can guarantee you that people are in a meeting and they're wondering what those acronyms mean. And if you're the one that's asking that question as an excuse, hey, I'm new, what does this mean? People will thank you. And you can also create an acronym dictionary that people can reference. So whatever resources, however small, you can provide to the team, they will love it. You will demonstrate very quickly that you're a team member, a team player, and you're not afraid to ask those questions. That's a wonderful question. As a young professional early in my career, how do I maintain a mentee-mentor relationship and provide support to my mentor? I am afraid to come across as a mentee who only receives support. Great question. I think this goes back to what I said earlier. You always have something to offer, and just put that in your brain. Just tell yourself that, because as young professionals, a lot of us go through imposter syndrome. A lot of us feel like we have nothing to offer, but it's not true. Even if you're a student, if you're a grad student, undergrad, you have that perspective to bring to the table. Support to your mentor, sometimes it's as simple as asking, hey, you've done a lot for me. What can I do for you? And they can help identify small things that you could be able to help them with. And again, we're in a fast-changing world where technology is constantly changing. So you might have that insight that your mentor doesn't know, right? I mean, there's so many new social media platforms that people might not know about that could bring value to whoever is your mentor, or, different technologies, like I said. So get it out of your head that you have nothing to offer. That's step one. Again, you 100% have something to offer.
Yeah, to Alexandra's point, I mean, just being a sounding board, just being there to provide your opinions on things, letting your mentor know, do you have any questions about anything I can help you with? They might just want to know your opinion on things as a young professional, and that gives them a new perspective. So even just you being you is what you bring to the table. So just remember that as well.
Yep, and sometimes they might have another mentee. Like I mentioned, not one person knows everything. So maybe they're running into an issue with another mentee. Hey, I don't know about this, and they really need help. Would you have some insight on it? And there you go. That's another way that you can help them by being a resource for their other mentees or other people within their network. As a mentor, I listen and learn from my mentee. Yes, absolutely. It's a two-way relationship, and that's something very important to keep in mind, because it takes the pressure off in a way. Same way as when you're interviewing for a company, you want to make sure that you understand that you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. So it's the same concept. It takes the pressure off. It's just a human connection. At the end of the day, it's just like any other relationship that you have outside of your professional world.
Are there any other questions? I want to thank everyone so much for being here this evening. Alexandra, thank you so much for a great presentation. This was very insightful, a lot of fun. And I hope to see many of our alumni at some of our upcoming events. Any last words, Alexandra, you'd like to leave with everyone?
I think just the last tidbits of advice, and the main thing that I want everyone to take away from this is just be yourself, be true to who you are, be true to your goals, and everything will eventually fall into place. Keep going, take it day by day, and keep expanding your network. So if you just want to add me on LinkedIn or shoot me a note via my Gmail, I'd be happy to respond and make that connection with you and potentially help you grow your career as well. So absolutely, thank you everyone for your wonderful questions and for being so engaged. It makes it a lot easier to do presentations, especially around building relationships, so I appreciate everyone's attendance and engagement.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Thank you so much to all of our alumni. I hope to see you all soon, and I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.